if you live long enough, you've probably got that stabbing pain from that knife that's in your heart. And so when you've been betrayed, yes, when you're betrayed by someone that you trusted, the ones that can hurt you the most are the ones that are closest to you. Because you expect more from them and you trust them more. So when they hurt you, it hurts more, it hurts deeper, it takes longer to get over. Several years ago, I was hurt by someone that I trusted so much. I looked up to them. And they did something that offended me. It hurt really bad. And there's some offenses that you can just brush them off and water off duck's back. But this one wasn't one of them. And so I got to the point where I had feelings of hatred, jealousy, and bitterness. I began to rebel against authority because that person was in authority. And so I just started doing things my own way. I just said, I'm going to do this my own way until one day I was revisiting some areas where I got about the one who offended me. Probably one of those gossip mornings, And I got cold. And it scared me so bad. I knew God was warning me. Yes. Be careful here. So I asked him, I said, how do I get past this? I dealt with it for so long. And Matthew 5:44, don't you just hate it when you go to the Word and he tells you stuff? He said, but I tell you, pray for anyone who mistreats you. Well, I didn't want to pray for them. I did not want to pray good things for them. And so I took the word and I was just obedient to it. I just said, okay, I'm going to pray for them. They have kids, so I'm going to pray for the little kids. So as close as I could get. I love kids. And so all the way to work, I had to go by their house on the way to work. And that was a daily reminder of it. I think that's why it took so long, because I just, had to see it all the time. God does that to me, I don't know why. And so all the way to work, I would pray, God bless them little children, I love them. I hope they don't grow up and be like them. And I want good things for them. And so then, I heard that they were having financial trouble. So, I've been there, done that. And I don't really want that for anybody. And so I said, Lord, bless their finances. Help them, Lord, to be able to pay their bills. Have a fan instead of air conditioner, but bless them. And so I said, I'll praise you for a long time. And finally, one day, I got to the point, after praying for their kids, and then after praying for their finances, and after praying for all the things I thought they'd be okay with, the Lord blessing them with, I finally got to the place where I could speak their name. And when I spoke their name, something inside me broke.
Yes. Thank you, Father. Thank you.
And just a river of tears started flowing down me. And I started speaking in that heavenly language, and I said, bless them, oh God. Bless their ministry. Bless their homes. Bless their children, that they can be raised up and be used by you. Bless their health and their finances. Heaped up, pressed down, and running over. I thought I would have to pull over because I was crying so hard. It was the most freeing moment I have ever felt. I told God that I forgave them, and they don't have to do anything to me. They don't have to come to me or anything, because all I need to do is forgive them. To forgive is to set a prisoner free.
Yes.
And then I realized that that prisoner was me. A paradigm shift is something that majorly happens in your life. and it causes you to go a different way. Well, my shift after that, an even greater shift, was when my husband, he was vibrant, healthy, and strong. He was diagnosed on August 28, 2016, with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer. And God used cancer to teach us. He uses so many things. I think I must be like special needs or something, because I have these lessons. But He uses all these lessons to teach me. But He taught us this. He taught us to have courage and patience. He taught us compassion and humility. Now when we pray for someone, we not only pray for God to do the miraculous, but we have a better understanding of their pain and their suffering. Moments of Him sitting on the toilet, shivering, wrapped in blankets, hoping just to make it to bed. They're lasting impressions, something I won't ever forget. So when I pray for that person who has cancer, and that person who is sick, I'm praying not only for healing, but when they go home, that when they're sick in the night, that God will touch them. I would have never known to pray that before if I hadn't walked that walk myself. Beating cancer doesn't mean just staying alive. Beating cancer is overcoming and growing in spite of cancer. He is healed today. There is no cancer in his body. But if God would have taken him, I knew where he was going. We were not afraid of that. So the victory is all the lessons God brought to you to teach you in the meantime. That's what it was for. But he had one more lesson for me to learn. While Noah was going through his chemotherapy, God gave me a dream. And in that dream, I was washing Jesus' feet. I was so happy. I was taking care of him, bringing him anything he wanted, being so attentive to him. And I thought Jesus would be happy. And he said, "Why are you doing this?" I said, "Because I love you, Lord." He said, "You have a Lord on earth, and he deserves the same attention from you." See, I thought submission for years. I thought my way made more sense. And God started revealing to me the power of being under the cover of authority. Not in I got my thumb on you kind of authority, but there's power in authority. Just like Adam and Eve, they enjoyed freedom under the protection of God's covering while they were under his authority, under his word. But then they did like me, and they did something that made more sense to them. But God, it makes more sense to do it this way. Why not do it this way? And, the devil, he never touched them. He never did anything. All they did was got in their mind. All he did was get them thinking another way. Just a little bit off, that's all. But if you stick to that word, just like he said, pray for your enemies, I just stick to that word and believe, okay, God, just because you said it, I'm going to do it. If you stick to that word, you won't have to worry about it. I had to let go of my self-righteous attitude, my controlling ways. I had a way of making him think like me, do what I wanted. But then with that, I was always worried. I was always worried about, decisions we had made that I'd have to make. And I encouraged him to make. But when I let go of that fear and I completely submitted to him and allowed him to be the leader and authority in our home, it changed our relationship. And because he's not, it's like your boss. Your boss at work, you do what he says because he's your boss. He pays your check. And you don't question him, you just do it, you respect him. And that's the husband. The husband is the boss of your home. And you just, if he makes a mistake, that's between him and God. Right. You say, God, he got us into this financial thing. That's between you and him. That's right. All I'm going to do, I'm going to cook him a nice supper tonight. And whatever it is, we're going to eat it, we're going to enjoy it because that's between you and him. You have to teach him those lessons. I took my hands off of it. And it was so freeing, because I do not worry. I do not worry about the decisions he makes for his company, the things that he's going to do or change. I would follow him. And after that, the Lord opened the doors for him to where, since the first of the year, he has preached at a different church every Sunday with his testimony. That would not have happened before. I do not believe it would happen, because I wouldn't have let it happen. I'd have questioned it. I said, are you sure? You think we should be doing it? We have responsibilities here. Just question. But I said, okay, God, it's him. And it has been a blessing. It's been a tremendous blessing. Peace. You cannot put a price on peace. God's word plus obedience equals peace. There's no place as fulfilling as living inside God's will. You're inside God's will, you have so much power. You don't have to worry. You don't have to question yourself and your decisions, because you went right by what the Word says. You know, the word metamorphosis, when you transform something into something else. You know, when a caterpillar, when it becomes a butterfly, I watched a video of it. I watched a video of how it just tries to come out of that cocoon into that little hole. And when it's in the process, you kind of want to help it, because you see it struggling in there. And you want to say, oh, if I could just get some scissors and cut it and get it out, it would be help it. But if you were to do that, the body would be big and the wings would be so little. Because what's happening when it's pressing against that cocoon, that body is going down and those wings are coming out. And so when you feel pressured about something and you have things going on in your life, just realize God, He's pushing some things out of you, and He's creating your wings. He's making you stronger to where you'll be able to be used by Him. Each one of us had to let go of a dream, a compromise, felt the pain and all the emotions of an undesirable thing that change can bring. I was heavily involved in a lot of things at my church, and when God dealt with us about evangelizing, it was a very difficult decision. And the way that what others expect of you, can come against you, and you start thinking about, what are they going to think? Do they think it's right? Or is it all about us? What are we trying to say? Are we trying to say we're somebody, we can do this? That's why I go through all these lessons. If I had not have gone through these lessons, I could have rebelled. I could have said things. I could have talked about some things, but I never said a word, because I learned these lessons. I've been in the cocoon, and God had created a metamorphosis in me, so that when I could be released, I could be released full and whole without putting my hands to it. Everything you have gone through is preparing you for what you're called to do. So when you're going through it, it's hard, and I'm not going to say it's easy, because we don't know the end yet. But if you just trust Him and say that word, you told me to pray, okay, I will. You told me to trust, okay, I will. Just do those things. So, how much more words am I supposed to say? How long? So that's not right. That's 8:30, right?
Yes, 8:30. Yeah, he said he'd like to start your altar time.
Awesome, good, because I had it ready. Every one of us has been through something. Every one of us have experienced some of these things. God just used me to tell you about mine. And so, if you realize that you've been holding some events, whether it's been a week ago, a year ago, 30 years ago, it can't happen, believe me. It can happen. You can hold it. It's like those clothes. I was just pulling back in. God was trying to get me away from it, trying to help me to release it. But I just pulled it